All right, it's Nick Friedell, who does a great job covering the Brooklyn Nets for ESPN. Also, one of the best hangs in NBA media. Recording this the day after the Golden Globes. Nick, are you a big TV streaming guy?
No. No. I have my cords connected. I occasionally will flip on some Netflix, but no, I am old school as far as my TV habits go.
What's one of your old school, just like classic favorites to hit?
Friday Night Lights.
Are you Team Saracen or Team Riggins?
Ooh. Well, considering Mr. Saracen in real life has Chicago ties, I would probably lean that way, but I think everybody's got a Riggins in their life.
So you and I were both at FTX. Well, now TBD Arena, officially no longer going to be FTX. We were both there in Miami on Sunday for Nets Heat. The Nets won. They're 15-2 since December 1st. Best team in the NBA. Second place in the Eastern Conference. But turn in the punch bowl is that Kevin Durant sprained his MCL after Jimmy Butler fell onto his knee during that game in Miami. Did not return to the game. Nets announced that he is going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So, Nick, realistically, what are we looking at here in terms of how much time Durant could miss?
Woj reported it initially, Wes, in saying that it was probably going to be around a month. The Nets have been optimistic the last couple days that it wouldn't take as long as the others have in the past because, of course, it was the other knee, but in 2017, as a member of the Warriors, Durant had a similar injury last year, other knee, same injury. They don't think it'll be too long. And I tell you, having been around this team last year when he went down, and now having been around this team at present, they think they're better equipped now to handle his absence. It's Kevin Durant, though. For my money, Wes, up to this point, he's the MVP of the league, or he's right there in the conversation. So to take him out, it's been fascinating listening to the guys the last couple of days. Of course, everybody focuses on 30 points a game, an incredible score, but defensively, they think it's going to hurt more. And defensively this season, he has been really, really good. So there are a lot of different layers in play, but you take Kevin Durant out of any lineup, and you're going to have big problems. The Nets are just hoping they can get through the next couple weeks.
You mentioned 30 points per game. He's shooting an insane percentage from everywhere on the court. 6.7 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 1.5 blocks. He's playing 36 minutes a night. This is just a lot of minutes, a ton of production. Who do you think on the roster needs to step up?
It seems like TJ Warren is that guy who's going to get more minutes. But the caveat here, Wes, is Jacques Vaughn has said throughout the season, and certainly since Warren came back off those foot issues he's been dealing with the last couple of years, he doesn't want him playing 35, 40 minutes. And he repeated that again in Wednesday's practice, saying, hey, look, everybody really likes TJ, but you want him ready for the postseason. I would think he would get more minutes. Just how many more, we'll see. Joe Harris is another guy that you look at and you say, all right, well, Joe can hit from the outside. He can space the floor out a little more, especially playing off Kyrie, who's been really, really good since he got back off that suspension. So he's the other guy you keep an eye on. But from a broader standpoint, Ben Simmons, he has been lost in the shadows a little bit, playing behind Kevin and Kyrie. They've been so good that they have kind of taken a ton of pressure off Simmons. You take Kevin out of the lineup, let's say it's for 4 weeks or 5 weeks. Yeah, Simmons is going to have to do more. And I'm not saying he's going to suddenly score 20 points a game, but he's got to do more defensively, and he's got to be an offensive difference maker much more so than what we've seen to this point.
Yeah, we've seen it in the past. I mean, it was a while ago, or at least it feels like a while ago, where Ben Simmons would play in Joel Embiid-less lineups in Philadelphia when Embiid was dealing with injuries, and you just, 5 out, let Ben Simmons run down the floor and just kick out to open shooters, and he was creating more three-point shots than anybody else. And so the Nets have the shooting. They could do it. TJ Warren, Joe Harris, Seth Curry, all the names. All those guys are back. They're healthy. Kyrie Irving, obviously. I still think that there's enough talent there offensively that I'm not as concerned with it. But I agree with you. Defensively, I think there's going to be a huge concern. Durant was so big for them defensively. I think probably their second most valuable defender, probably behind Nick Claxton. Without Durant, can they survive defensively?
I don't think they can keep up at the defensive level that they've been at. But this is where you have to believe that all the wins that they've put together and the cushion that has provided is going to give them some space and a little more confidence to shuffle the rotation and find the right mixes. But defensively, that is where this team has taken a larger stride under Jacques Vaughn. He's done a nice job giving everybody to focus on whatever's happening that day. You take Kevin out, and that is a really, really big issue that they don't really have a clear-cut answer for.
You sat down with KD recently to talk through a variety of topics, including Durant's trade request last summer, Kyrie Irving's suspension. Durant told you that he thinks that all that stuff brought him and Kyrie closer. Do you buy that?
In talking to people in the organization, and this goes back to last summer, the feeling always was that Kevin and Kyrie are very close, but they're not as unbelievably close as it appeared sometimes. And Wes, we saw that in the trade request. I mean, if everything was so great with this team and the relationship was so unbelievably tight, then we wouldn't have had all the drama of last summer. What I would tell you is, and this speaks to more than just Kevin and Kyrie, I think the entire team, and Kevin mentioned that coming into the season, he knew that things were going to be different because of the trade request, because of what they went through. Was Kyrie going to stay? Wasn't he going to stay? What was Simmons going to give them? I would tell you, being around this team every day, when Kyrie came back off the suspension, everybody kind of just went, all right, let's focus on the game. Kevin and Kyrie deserve an immense amount of credit for that. Jacques Vaughn, getting everybody to buy into the day-to-day, deserves credit for that. Every other guy on that roster who was like, oh, man, like how is this all going to work, deserves credit for all coming together. So, yeah, I do think that they have grown a little closer given the outside circumstances of what's happened in the last year. But I tell you that the team as a whole has come together in focusing just on basketball on a daily basis.
I know it's only been a few days now, but it sounds like from what you're saying that there is a certain level of confidence that they can withstand this KD injury.
Absolutely. But they say that now. Let's see what happens when the game starts. Because the other part of this, and anybody who is all hopped up on the Nets and saying, okay, like this is the team we thought it was going to be. This is a title contender now potentially later in the year. Wes, I would caution everybody in saying, while the Nets deserve a ton of credit for what they've done to this point, look back at their schedule. They have been beating up on bad teams and or teams that are missing one or two of their best players. The Nets deserve credit for taking care of business, absolutely. But the schedule is going to turn here. They've got more road games. They've got games against tougher opponents. They've got to find a way to make it through however long this stretch is going to be without Kevin Durant on the floor.
Let's say hypothetically that we're on the other side of the All-Star break and the Brooklyn Nets still have a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. Do you trust this Nets team?
Wes, I still don't believe they are a better team than Boston or Milwaukee.
Okay.
If you looked at this team on paper, even before the season, Kevin's coming back. Kyrie is certainly going to be motivated, you would think, to get that next contract, whether it's in Brooklyn or elsewhere. You would think Ben Simmons is motivated because he had missed a year plus, hadn't played, heard all the chatter about what kind of player he would be. So all along, I thought this team was good enough to win a first-round series and then see what happens potentially in that second round. There's just nothing that I see to this point that leads me to believe that if everybody is healthy, and I still have Boston and Milwaukee a cut above where the Nets are. But, and it's a big but, if Kevin comes back and he's still playing like the MVP of the league, and Kyrie's healthy and still rolling the way he is, well then, if the Nets made a move and got another backup big man in here, okay, like you could convince me that it is possible. But as we sit here, even if Kevin were healthy and even if things just kept rolling, I'd tell you that in a playoff series, I would struggle to pick against Boston or Milwaukee.
I want to go back to that piece that you did sitting down with Kevin Durant, and anybody that wants to read it, they could find it at ESPN.com. You've covered Durant for a long time now. You and I both covered him for a while in Golden State. How has his relationship with the media changed over the last few years?
For my money, I have never seen a more accessible star at that level. In other words, If you want to have a conversation with Kevin just about the game, you're not recording anything, you just want to talk basketball, he's right there. And Wes, for all the guys in the game, there are plenty of guys who still love the game. There are plenty of guys, as you and I both know, that don't love the game, that love being in the NBA and that love the trappings that come with being an NBA player. Kevin Durant loves the game, and he loves talking about the game. And that's a breath of fresh air for myself as a journalist, but just as a basketball fan, I just think it's cool. Yeah. Kevin is at a level as a star in the league. He can talk whenever he wants. He's got a podcast. He's open about his opinions, which you appreciate. He's honest about what he believes and thinks about the league, but that is the difference. I mean, there are a lot of layers there, but still, for whatever's going on, he's accessible, and as somebody who covers him on a daily basis, it's appreciated.
How are you and Kyrie doing, by the way? And before you answer, just some insight for the viewers here. You guys sort of went at it after Kyrie tweeted the link to the film that ultimately got him suspended. So are you guys cool now? What's going on there?
We don't speak now.
Okay.
We do not speak. Kyrie, when I ask a question at a press conference, he answers. There's a professional respect in that regard because he knows I have a job to do. I know that while he may not want to answer certain questions, he answers whatever questions are posed, and everybody moves on with their day. But in the beginning of the season, Wes, and this dates back, of course, it wasn't just that one clip. It was last year about the vaccination stuff that had been building. But in the beginning of the season, Kyrie and I were just talking like two humans about basketball, about life. I mean, it was fun getting to know him more on that personal level. But since that clip and since the fallout of what he said, what he didn't say in those initial press conferences, no, we don't speak anymore.
All right, let's switch topics. We love National Day calendar around here, okay? So I don't know if you knew this, but it was National Houseplant Appreciation Day this week.
Oh, my.
Do you have any houseplants, and are you pro real or fake plants?
Okay, first of all, you've known me for a while now. I can barely take care of myself. So the idea that I'm going to stick a houseplant in my apartment in New York and be like, oh, yeah, let me give this some water and let me make sure that this grows. No chance. So no, I don't have a house plant. And if you had to have a plant, I would absolutely want it to be fake. My mom bought me a fake Christmas tree that has withstood the test of time when I've needed it because I don't need it that often. But less is more.
Once a year.
Yeah, exactly. Like a couple days a year. But less is more. Anything that I have to have responsibility for, that's usually not a good thing.
Nick Friedell, you do a great job covering the Brooklyn Nets over at ESPN, ESPN.com. Nick, thanks for joining me. This is a good hang, buddy.
I appreciate you having me, buddy.